Welcome to CourtSpiral, where truth is stranger than fiction. Today, we're diving into one of the most shocking legal battles that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about justice. In the world of the rich and powerful, no one is beyond the law. But sometimes the law itself becomes a game, where the stakes are higher than we can imagine. Let's take a look at how the landmark case of Brown v. Board of Education unfolded, a case that not only challenged the status quo but fundamentally altered the fabric of American society. The year was 1951, a time when racial segregation was deeply entrenched in the United States, particularly in public education. Schools for black children were often poorly funded, overcrowded, and lacking essential resources. In Topeka, Kansas, a young girl named Linda Brown was forced to walk a significant distance to her segregated school, while a white school was just a few blocks away. Her father, Oliver Brown, was determined to change this injustice. He, along with a group of parents, decided to take a stand against the Board of Education of Topeka, initiating a lawsuit that would make history. Segregation in public schools violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. This clause, ratified in 1868, was meant to ensure that all citizens received equal protection under the law. However, since the late 19th century, the Supreme Court had upheld the doctrine of separate but equal, established in the infamous Plessy v. Ferguson case. This doctrine allowed for racial segregation as long as the separate facilities were purportedly equal. But were they truly equal? As the case progressed, it became evident that the resources allocated to black schools were significantly less than those for white schools. The plaintiffs presented compelling evidence, including testimonies from educators, sociologists, and psychologists who argued that segregation had detrimental effects on black children's self-esteem and overall development. This was a turning point in legal strategy. Instead of merely arguing for equal facilities, the focus shifted to the psychological impacts of segregation. Just when it seemed like this case was about to wrap up, something unexpected happened. The Supreme Court announced it would hear the case, consolidating it with several other similar lawsuits challenging segregation in public schools. This was a critical moment that brought national attention to the issue of racial inequality in education. The stakes were raised even higher as the justices prepared to hear arguments that could reshape American society. The oral arguments were intense and filled with emotion. Thurgood Marshall, the lead attorney for the plaintiffs and future Supreme Court justice, passionately advocated for the abolition of segregation. He argued that segregation was not only a violation of the law but also a moral failing of the nation. The justices listened intently, aware that their decision could have far-reaching implications. On May 17, 1954, the Supreme Court delivered its historic ruling. In a unanimous decision, the court declared that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal, thus overturning Plessy v. Ferguson. This landmark ruling was a monumental victory for the civil rights movement and marked a turning point in the struggle for racial equality in America. But the battle was far from over. Following the decision, many southern states resisted desegregation. The implementation of the ruling was met with hostility, and various strategies were employed to circumvent the law. This led to further legal battles as civil rights activists, parents, and students fought for their right to attend integrated schools. The backlash against desegregation was fierce, and in many cases, local governments refused to comply with the Supreme Court's order. In Arkansas, the situation escalated dramatically when Governor Orville Faubus deployed the National Guard to block 9 black students from entering Little Rock Central High School in 1957. This act of defiance against federal authority ignited a national crisis. President Eisenhower was compelled to intervene, sending federal troops to ensure the students could attend school safely. This confrontation not only underscored the resistance to desegregation, but also highlighted the federal government's role in enforcing civil rights legislation. As these events unfolded, the legal battles continued. The fight for desegregation was not just about schools, it became a broader struggle for civil rights that encompassed housing, employment, and public accommodations. The Brown case set a precedent that would inspire countless other lawsuits aimed at dismantling systemic racism and inequality across various sectors of society. One notable example is the case of Jones v. Alfred H. Mayer Co. in 1968, which addressed racial discrimination in housing. The Supreme Court ruled that the federal government could prohibit racial discrimination in private housing transactions under the Civil Rights Act of 1866. This decision further solidified the legal basis for challenging discriminatory practices and laid the groundwork for future legislation aimed at promoting equality. In the years that followed, civil rights activists mobilized, inspired by the success of Brown v. Board of Education. The legal strategies developed during this time were instrumental in advancing the civil rights movement, leading to significant legislative changes, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These laws aimed to eliminate discrimination and protect the rights of all citizens, regardless of race. However, the journey toward equality remained fraught with challenges. Even with landmark decisions and new laws, the struggle against systemic racism persisted. Many communities continued to experience discrimination in various forms, and the legacy of segregation lingered in schools and neighborhoods across the nation. In recent years, the focus has shifted toward addressing the inequalities that remain entrenched in society. Lawsuits have been filed to challenge discriminatory practices in education, housing, and employment, and the legal strategies employed in cases like Brown v. Board of Education continue to serve as a blueprint for those seeking justice. For instance, the case of Fisher v. University of Texas at Austin in 2016 brought the issue of affirmative action to the forefront once again. Abigail Fisher, a white student, challenged the university's admissions policy, claiming it discriminated against her based on her race. The Supreme Court ultimately upheld the university's policy, reinforcing the notion that educational institutions could consider race as one factor among many in their admissions processes. This case highlighted the ongoing debate over race, equality, and access to education in America. Another recent case that sparked national attention was the litigation surrounding racial gerrymandering, particularly in cases like Cooper v. Harris in 2017. The Supreme Court ruled that North Carolina's congressional map was unconstitutional because it was drawn with the intent to dilute the voting power of African American citizens. This decision underscored the importance of fair representation and the ongoing struggle against systemic racism in the political arena. The impact of these legal battles extends beyond the courtroom. Lawsuits have the power to bring attention to social injustices, mobilize communities, and inspire movements for change. The case study of Brown v. Board of Education illustrates how litigation can serve as a catalyst for broader societal transformation, challenging not only existing laws but also the very foundations of systemic inequality. In the end, justice prevailed, but it left behind many unanswered questions. Was the verdict truly fair, or was there more beneath the surface? The Brown case undoubtedly transformed American society, yet the fight for equality is ongoing. It raises critical questions about the role of the legal system in addressing issues of justice and fairness. Are lawsuits an effective means of enacting change, or do they merely serve as a band-aid on deeper societal wounds? The story of Brown v. Board of Education serves as a reminder that the struggle for justice is complex and multifaceted. The legal system can be a powerful tool for change, but it is only one piece of a larger puzzle. True progress requires collective action, community engagement, and a commitment to addressing the root causes of inequality. What do you think about this case? Was justice truly served, or did the system fail? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to CourtSpiral for more shocking stories from the world of law. Don't forget to like and subscribe to CourtSpiral. We're back every week with new, shocking stories. Let's continue exploring just how unpredictable justice can be.